Hey guys, welcome back to AF Farms for our Silverrun Forest playthrough. Today we are just getting some work done refilling our timber stock. So in the last episode I just ran through the process for how I'm creating timber in the first place. So this is just going to be a bit of a video of me going through the process and putting in the work. So I'm just going to explain what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and we will go from there. So basically we planted this little forest with the idea, so I'm going to push that out a little bit, of just removing our transit time from the forest to this location where we're effectively storing the timber ready for transport. So what it allows me to do is just be more efficient, essentially. That's the only reason. So rather than having to drive into the forest, cut the tree down, find the trees I need to cut, we're basically able to do all of that essentially in one location. So it basically just minimises our transit time. So obviously we are on Silverrun Forest, we're on a forestry map, but I don't have all the time in the world to go and cut down trees, and because this is such a tree dependent map for obvious reasons, this is just the way I've come up with to help speed up the gameplay loop for myself and just get the work done. So essentially with these bunkers all we're doing is we're trying our best to load the log directly into the bunker, and then I will grab the I've got another wheel loader with a logging blade, so the Torion over there, the class Torion. Didn't cut that stump very low on the tree just there. Let's get it a bit further. So what I do is I cut it, lift it up slightly, drag it out, let it fall, and then we just sort of back into... I haven't really done a good job on that one. So you got to be careful too that you don't get the physics working against you. Let's get that. So just try and hit that fence, lift up a little bit, and then load that in. So this log pile looks a little bit messy, but we'll fix that up in a second. So I'm going to cut one more tree, and then I'm going to tidy that up. So basically all you do is you're just working in rows here. So you just go one row at a time, grab the tree that you want, and I guess your tree per minute. So lift it up a touch. So let it fall, drag it out, and then I'm going to back it in, swing the arm over, lift it up, cut it, and I'm just going to drive it right into there. So it just cuts down our handling distance dramatically. Alright, so I'm going to park this out of the way. So just park this sufficiently far away so we can get the other wheel loader in. So we want this one here. So I've talked about the blade attachment previously. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and get this log here. So I'll just lift it up. So we've got a few that have gotten a bit out of shape here, but that's fine. So we'll angle the blade, try and get underneath this one, if we can. We might not be able to. And usually what we do is let the physics of the game sort of start to take over. So what I'll do here is I'll just back out, sort of hit these guys on the end. So I'll turn them around a little bit, lift that blade up so I don't pick up that other one. And then what I will do So I'll try and push this length that's sticking out into the pile. So he is stuck on something. So just to illustrate a point here, you can see they're butted up against each other, so they're not going to move. So what we need to do there is I'm just going to try and push the pile in line with the others, and then I'll come back later. And so what we do is we just sort of push from the middle. That's lined up, and then what I'm going to try and do here is just get this pile to break up a little bit, so we can try and free up a bit of space for that one that's stuck underneath. So there we go, we've separated them a little bit. So you don't need a big wheel loader to do this. This is essentially, I think, the medium-sized one. What I'm going to do is that one's going to be difficult to get out, so I'll pull it out with the winch. So we come over to the winch, grab the rope, R1 to attach, and then we just pull it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out. Get it sort of back into position here. Detach. So make sure I put the blade down, that'd be good. So this Multiblade is a mod that you can get in the forestry section, I believe. So there we go, so we've got that sorted. I've gotten that one a little bit out of shape on top. So it's far easier to sort the logs out while they're in this position, rather than trying to sort them out when you're trying to load the trailer, because if you have logs that fall off the trailer, they just get stuck everywhere. They really mess up your loading. So take your time here. So push them into the fence. So once they get in position, you'll get that collision marker. Let's get these ones underneath. Push them in all the way as well. Then we'll get this one just out the front here. And push them in as well. So what I'll do now is I'll go around to the back corner there, and then just push them in from the edge, and that should turn them and line them up nice and straight. So there we go. Let's check our time. So we're only 8 minutes into this video, and we've already cut down, what, 4 trees, stacked them ready for loading. So these guys will load up nice and easy. So let's keep going, jump back in the harvester, and we'll start filling up the front bunker. So the other thing you want to consider too is you don't want to fill the bunkers up too much, because then you may get frame rate issues on the PS5. So the reason why I've found this size to be pretty good, and I've just painted the ground with the animal mud texture to sort of help me see the tines when I go through the loading procedure. So let's lift that up a little bit, cut that, pull this one out, drag it over, and swing it into position. So ideally, if you can load them sort of on the same angle, and then when you come through with the forestry blade on the front loader, it's not as much work to sort of maneuver them into position. Lift that up a little bit. So what I should have done is tackle these rows one at a time, and a bit more evenly, just so I don't have the issue of trying to negotiate the trees as I go through. Okay, so let's lift that one up. So let them fall to the side, basically drive up parallel to the bunker, swing the arm over, and if you can get them in square, great. If not, and just make sure they don't butt up against each other too much. So that one's obviously going to hit, so I just want to move that out the way. So there we go, that's tree number 2. Okay, lift it up slightly, drag it out. So you just got to watch the path when it falls so it doesn't get stuck, which it just did there. So I'm going to drag it to the side, lift it up, and then I'm going to massage it in a little bit. There we go. I mean, you don't have to have the harvester up this high. I'll just do it to help clear some of the obstacles. Okay, let's go around, grab this last one. And then what we'll also do is we'll get the stump grinder out. I'll show you how quickly that can clear up the stumps. One thing you want to also check is to make sure that you are still cutting the same length all the time. So if you start cutting different length of timber, it's going to really mess up your loading procedure. So always make sure you double check what you're doing with your... Go up a little bit so we're not going to bump that. And obviously you want to avoid collisions with your tree cutting, so your harvester doesn't flip out or do something crazy. Okay, last one in this row. And then just swing that in. Oh, I think I've gone a bit too far here. Oh no, we should be right. Let's lift it up. I'm just going to put it in that part of the pile. So I can't remember how many trees we've cut down so far, but it'd probably be at least getting close to 10. So that's 30 lengths of wood. Okay. Move that there. Alright. Now you could use the AgriPower silage leveler for this task as well. I just find the front loader gives you a little bit more versatility. I haven't tried it with any other attachments other than this blade. Because having the winch on the top is ideal, just for those logs that don't want to play the game. So look at that, we can push all those in. I've just got this one that's sticking out here, being a pain. So hopefully we can get that one in position. So we're getting a decent stack there, which is pretty good. So this is actually probably a little bit higher than I normally would have it. Because if you stack it up too high, then you run the risk of the logs falling out when you try and load. So this one that's a little bit skew. So I want to try and I'll break up this stack a little bit. So what I'll do here is I'll push these over that way. I might have to change my angle. Because I want that log to sort of fall into, so the one I'm talking about is this one just here, the one that's running not parallel with the others, so I want to try and fix that now so it doesn't cause me an issue later. So the way I would try and fix that is probably come at it from this side. Just try and get our blade. Just give it a bit of a nudge. Perfect. So it pays to put the effort in at this stage, so when you come to load, you don't have any problems. Right, so just park him out of the way. Alright, and let's carry on. So how are we going for time? So we are 15 minutes in. We're about basically half full, so I'm gonna just use the alignment function here, save yourself a bit of time. Okay, we're still on 12 meters. The reason we're doing 12 meters is because these are 36 meter trees. So this is pretty much almost perfect. So all I have to do is give that a tiny little nudge into position, and then we are good to go. So you might seem that this is a little bit, you know, too much effort for what we need to do in game. I mean, if you want to have a small timber production, by all means you can do that. But me personally, I just want to make sure I've got enough wood to do what I need to do. And I want to have, it's like having, you know, silos of crops, or, you know, silos of bales. You've just got stuff on hand for when you need it. So let's go this way. So cut it, lift it up slightly, drag it out, back it in towards the bunker, turn at the last minute, lift it up a touch, and then cut. So he's got to be wary of the collision between poles, particularly on the first and second cut. Okay, that's good. Let's get some of these ones that are a bit closer. So I want to get the stump grinder in after I probably cut this one. Actually, what I'll do is I will, so, because obviously I don't want these bunkers to fill up too much. I think we're getting right on the edge. So let's cut that one. Hopefully it hits the fence and sort of kicks straight. No, it's just going to be long enough. Alright, good stuff. So let's go and straighten them out. Park this guy off to the side. Where are we? That's the one we want. So having a dedicated machine for this job just improves your efficiency dramatically. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try and push from this edge. Now the fence will help us sort of push the logs out and away. So there we go, now they're nice and parallel with each other. We'll get this one that's hanging out by itself. So we'll just square it up. Not quite playing the game at the moment. So usually just the angle of the blade is what matters. So you can see there it's sort of snapped into position. So the more logs that you have on top of each other, the physics of the logs start to, wouldn't say deteriorate, but they do start to do weird things. So this one here I'm going to push it there, try and turn that pole around slightly. And it also depends on the angle of the front loader here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go parallel with the fence, and then just give it a little nudge. There we go. See how that sort of kicked it straight. Come back and fix up this last one, so we'll just try and hit it dead on. So you just got to get used to the articulation of the vehicle you're in. There we go. So that's not quite 12 meters, but it's in line with where we want it to be. Alright, let's get this parked up. Okay, back to the tree harvester. So we're just going to cut a few more for this other bunker over here. Turn the tree harvester on, lift it up. So we are going to go down this row. And the beauty of having these in rows, so actually we'll go back to this first one. Yeah, having these in rows is easy, just to get in and out for access. If I can remember the controls here. Okay, cut it, pull it back. Back into the bunker. I'll push this one out and away a little bit. So can't turn the cutting, so yeah, I'll just deal with that later. I'll just turn that around. So you just want to try and get them stacked as neatly as possible. You just obviously don't want them going on top of the pile, because then you're going to have to get the winch out to rescue that required log. Let's go forward a touch. Okay, pull it back. That's good to use the momentum. Swing it in, start cutting. So that one is a little bit just outside the fence area. So this fence can be as long as you want. I wouldn't recommend filling the whole bay, but it's just to help you sort of bumper them into position. Let's go for another one. I'm cutting these probably a little bit too high actually, so I'll make sure I get my cut height down a little bit. Up a little bit. I mean, it's not critical, you just lose a bit of tree each time you cut it. And it's a little bit more difficult to... So let's get him. It's a little bit more difficult and time consuming to stump grind. So push him over into the corner. So you can see what I'm talking about there with the collision. So got a little bit out of shape there, but we're okay. Alright, let's do one more and then we'll fix up this bunker and then we'll see how we're going for time. I mean, if someone in the comments is counting the amount of trees, or when I watch this back I might count the trees as well, just to sort of see what sort of tree per minute we end up with. Okay, let's go about there-ish. So just to give you some sort of idea of still 12 meters as well. This bunker might actually be a little bit more full than the other one. I think the ponderosa pines are a little bit thicker as well. Alright, where's our wheel loader? The other thing I'm going to do with this area is I'm going to put in line markings. So I've got decorative paintable lines, so I'm going to do a center point, because I think I'm going to stick with the 12 meters for this type of tree. Let's see if we can't square this up, just to give me a visual guide for when I do loading. So as long as I'm on the line, so what I'm talking about is put a painted line essentially where this loader is at the moment, so when I come to do my pickup, I don't have to think about it because I know what width I'm dealing with of log length. So it just speeds up the process just that little bit further. Okay, let's get out here. You also want to have plenty of room to operate here. I did have a few tree stumps here, which did slow down processing. Okay, let's push that in. So you can see straight up into the fence there. Those two logs have gone a little bit weird. I reckon if we give it a push from this end, when I say weird, they're not lined up, they're sticking up a little bit. So if I come in here, just give that a little push. Now you don't have to ram this. Sometimes just a little nudge. There we go. So let's have a quick look how that's looking. Yeah, so we've still got a bit of... So they're going a little bit angled underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and hug the fence here. Just give them a bit of a push. And then what'll happen is they'll just... Oh, hang on, fix up that blade. Just sort of jostles them a little bit and flattens them out a bit. So still got a bit of an issue there, but when I come to pick them up, that should rectify. Alright, here we go for time. So that is 26 minutes. So we've cut down a number of trees. We've basically refilled our two little bunkers. I mean, this one here could probably, if we get out and walk, let's have a look. So that's probably got 20 odd trees in it. So they're not quite equal size either. This one's probably got less actually. Oh, maybe not. It's hard to tell. So if we look at it from that view, yeah, this one may have a little bit more. So we've got a few more to cut down. So the other thing to mention is just to make sure that these don't get too full, because your frame rate on the PS5 can have issues. It may just be my PS5, but just a word of warning. So it's a good idea to spread the bunkers out, you know, around your little plantation. And obviously, as the plantation expands, we can have multiple log depots, if you will. I'll quickly demonstrate the stump grinder. So this is 200 horsepower stump grinder. So any tractor that fits that requirement, you can use. So basically all we got to do is we're just going to do this row here. Turn it on. Get the animation, as you can see there. Okay, I'm just going to straighten it up. And then you just got to drive backwards over the stumps. So there you go. It's got him. So as long as you can drive straight, and they're all cut roughly the same height. So that one there is going to go back again. So that's probably not... There we go. Just straighten this up. So that's that one. Oh, that one's a little bit... So just drive over it, that should get it. There we go. This one's a big one, so I'm going to have to lift it up. Okay, I should be able to... Oh, I can never remember. Let's go that way. And then up. And that should get it. Yep. So you can basically do a row. Get that one, and I'll come back for this one. So there we go, that only took about a minute. Obviously I'll do those other ones a bit later on. Switch off the stump grinder. Go and park our tractor back up over here. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is probably have 2 plots going at once, so one for harvesting, one for growing, because it does take can't remember the growth time to get them to full height, but I've got a feeling it might be over 12 months, eh? So just something to consider with your gameplay, because they don't grow to this height instantly. So you may want to have a couple of different patches going at once. And see how, I guess you can probably pack them in a bit more tightly as well. That's the other thing. But basically this whole area here that you can see was the lodgepole pines, spaced approximately this width apart and pretty close together this way. So having them planted with the tree planter obviously gives us a good access point coming this way, which helps us with our access area here. So to get them to plant that way, you send the worker from this position, planting the trees in that way, and then they'll turn back around and go in rows like this. So that's why they're so close together. Cool. All right. Well, that's my little logging process at the moment. So let me know what you guys think if you do something similar or something totally different. If there's any way I could improve this or make it more efficient, I'm definitely open to that feedback. But this is what I've come up with, and it's really working for me. But yeah, interested to see what you guys are doing. So thanks for watching. Like the video, comment, share, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.